welcome to Conversations with Kelly, where we sit down with two members and dive deep into issues important to the business community. We're here today in beautiful CSE Station in downtown Wilmington, and I'm here with two guests who care very deeply about workforce development and the talent pipeline. One leads the chart as our board member on our workforce development affiliate, the Partnership. The other was recently an intern with Belfint Lyons Shuman and now works full-time with them as an accountant. So let me introduce them. Catrina, go ahead and tell us about yourself and your title.
So I am an associate product director at CSC, and we really look at the market, and I really focus on small businesses with Incorporate.com. But I love working with the chamber, and co-founding Intern Delaware was really cool.
Great, and Brody, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
So I am a staff accountant, and I work between audit and tax, mostly switching only during the busy seasons. We focus mostly on small businesses, corporations, individuals, all of that,
All of that. Well, welcome. Let's just dive right into the topic. We're here to talk, like I said, about the talent pipeline. One of the big programs here at the Delaware State Chamber is Intern Delaware, and as we mentioned, Catrina is a founder of the program. Now, I remember my intern days. I'm not from Delaware. I'm originally from Ohio, and I went to the University of Delaware. That's how I got to the States. I did some of the flashy internships in New York City. I actually interned on a marketing team for a tequila brand, and I also did PR for a fashion PR firm. Super cool internships. However, I also interned here, and that was with the State Chamber of Commerce. And that's how I found myself where I am today. And just to fill you guys in on how my internship experience went, it got off to a very awkward start. And if my boss happens to be watching this, I know he will also get a giggle. But I showed up to my internship interview on crutches, and somehow they saw something in me that day and took a chance on me, and here I am 10 years later as the vice president of the chamber.
So what made you stay in Delaware? Why didn't you go back to Ohio?
Well, I fell in love with Delaware during the internship. It was a great eye-opening experience where I really learned a lot about the state and what it had to offer. I met a lot of people, learned a lot about the businesses, and just really fell in love with what the chamber did. And that's why I'm still there, because I still love it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You just interned, now you're working. Tell us your story.
Okay. So I started at Penn State, and I remember being a freshman in college and not really sure where I wanted to go, but I knew I wanted to be in business. I started in finance, eventually went to accounting, and I remember my advisor telling me, accounting is a great route, you'll always have a job. So it's kind of one of the main reasons I picked it, and I felt like I was pretty good at it. So buckled down, did everything I could to kind of get ahead, and I remember junior year I was looking out for internships, and COVID just hit. So that was kind of a damper, but
not a lot of internships being offered.
Not too many. I was lucky enough to apply to Belfint Lyons Shuman, and I saw that they were close by, about a 20-minute drive from me. And they were a smaller firm, which is kind of what I was looking for. I didn't want to go to a big city, and I was looking more to make an impact rather than just work for someone. I was looking to make that impact for a company. So I thought Belfint Lyons Shuman was a great fit. I did their externship, which was like a mini internship, kind of like a one-day shadowing event that was virtual. And then I ended up doing the internship. Went really well. I got to interact with directors, and we had a rotation program where I also got so much exposure that most accounting interns wouldn't. So I went between audit, tax, we do employee benefit plans. So it was great exposure. Everybody was welcoming, and everybody wanted you to be there, basically. And I thought it was great, took the offer, and here I am now.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
That's great. I want to dive a little bit into this conversation. So that's something that employers hear a lot. I mentioned that I never initially saw myself staying in Delaware after college. You're not from Delaware. probably wasn't something that you considered as you were thinking about your life after college. And that's something that we hear a lot about from employers, that they have a hard time attracting talent in general. And with so many good schools here, there are people that are leaving. And that's where Intern Delaware comes in. Catrina, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the idea was born and started?
Sure. So Intern Delaware, I give huge credit to Scott Malfitano. If anybody has worked with Scott Malfitano, he is, a visionary, and he brings an idea and he comes to you and he says, let's make this happen. And you know that you're on a very quick timeline to making that happen. So Scott came and said, hey, we need to keep talent in Delaware. Businesses are coming and they're saying, where's your talent pipeline? And we looked at a few articles, and there was one that said 70% of Delaware graduates leave, to after they come here for school. That's a really big number, and you don't really think about that until you look at. Then there was a Wall Street Journal article that came out and said, where do students move after they graduate college? And you looked at Delaware universities, and everyone was moving within 2 hours away. And we're like, we can offer these things. But when people are here, you go to your job and you go to your job and you're probably really nervous as an intern and you do whatever they say and then you just continue on your way. But what was lacking was a professional development track per se that brought awareness to interns about why Delaware has staying power, why you should build your career here, and why having a negative 2 degrees separation in the state is important.
I love that.
So it's really neat. I can continue to go on about that, but that was the main thing, because businesses want to go where the talent is, and the talent wants to go where it's fun. So do they know we have Blue Rocks and Firefly, Dover Woodlands turns into this place where you don't feel like you're in Delaware anymore.
Beaches.
And there's a really cool thing about the beaches. All the outsiders know about the beaches.
Yes.
So, but we're really only from top to bottom, it's like a 2-hour driving distance in Delaware. So that's what's really neat. And then there's all these really cool things that aren't fun when you're an intern, like low property taxes, and maybe they don't care about sales tax. I don't know.
Oh,
It's
a big deal.
I'm a big shopper.
Okay, but there's a lot of really cool things you think about where it's schools, and right now you mentioned a really good point about you wanted to be somewhere where you can make an impact. It's really important to the younger generations, and we heard that and we saw that. And one of the pieces I think the new class just went to Leg Hall.
We did.
And you get scared when you really are really excited about something and you don't quite know how to advocate for it. The younger generation in Delaware, you could contact your representatives and meet with them and have lunch with them and see them in the grocery store, at the gym. So Delaware is pretty cool for that. I'm a fan. I don't know if you can tell.
Well, you should be. You founded it. So, and the good
Founding
news is
board member. Founding board member. Scott gets all the credit for the vision. I just helped make it happen.
She did, but she's also current board member, so you're helping to carry that through even now.
Right.
And the program has seen a lot of evolution since its inception. This is the third cohort that we currently have. And Brody, I do want to ask you a little bit about your experience in a minute, because I know it was different from what we're currently talking about, having gone through it during COVID. But I did want to kind of elaborate a little bit more on what you were describing. A great way to tell people what Intern Delaware is, it's almost an immersion program. It's an add-on to your company's internship program that allows that person to build a sense of community with people their age, learn more about the place that they're living and working in. And Delaware has a lot of, Delawareans, I should say, have a lot of pride in where they're from. But they're
where they went to high school.
Yeah, you gotta ask them where they went to high school. But there's a lot here that I think so many people don't know about. And the great thing about Intern Delaware is it does expose you to more than just your internship. Did you get that feeling when you went through the program?
Yeah, so from the program, it's not fully what I expected, especially during COVID, which as expected. I know now it's basically what I expected.
Yeah.
Going on because I've been on a few events so far. And when I was in Intern Delaware, I got the feeling that it was everybody, all the mentors and the speakers that I saw online, they were able to share their experience and really show how they built a connection. And I think that was one of the most important things I took away, was everybody said they are able to build their own network, their own brand, and that really stuck with me. The own
Deneen
brand.
Damon talked a lot about that because she was originally from Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and she specifically talked about that, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious, were there one or more speakers that really struck you with that? Putting you on the spot.
I just said Deneen, you can say it.
Deneen.
Yeah. Well, Andrew Catone talked about that too, from Adesys, and Rod Ward.
Who was from New York?
From New York?
Probably. Is that Andrew?
I feel like that might have been Andrew.
He
Andrew
sounds like he's from
Catone.
New York.
And he worked for
okay.
Adesys?
Okay, I think that's him. Well, Andrew Catone, he shared.
If we're wrong, they can cut it.
Yeah. Andrew Catone shared a lot of his experiences, and I remember specifically him saying that he was from New York, and there was no culture in his company. There was no really life balance, and that's really what he got out of it. And being in Delaware, he said he was able to still make connections. Maybe his pay went down, a few percent, but
But so does cost of living.
He's still living in Wilmington, and he
Exactly.
loves having his daughters here.
Yeah.
And it was neat. I remember your year because it was really fun coming up with interview questions. But you had Judge Martin, who has a really cool story in Delaware. And you also heard from Ben DuPont, who has a lot of history in Delaware, his family. So that was really neat to hear from people from New York, but also from Delaware that still love it.
I like hearing the stories I enjoy hearing the stories of how people have started from the bottom and made their all the way up, straight out of Delaware, or just straight from Delaware. But I also enjoy the stories of people making it who weren't always in Delaware.
Right.
Because they obviously came here for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit back on the topic of internships in general. We mentioned earlier that a lot of employers are struggling to find talent. Job openings are at record highs, and they're either not finding applicants or the applicants aren't qualified. How can an internship program in general help kind of close that gap? Question to both of you. Jump on in.
So one of the things that the vision with Intern Delaware was when we got a group of companies in the room and said, how do internships impact your business and how can they? And do you have them? And one of the things that came out of it was some companies had them, but they didn't know how to start them. And they wanted to keep the talent there. What we did find was that, higher than 60, I would say 70, 80% of companies wanted to have an internship, but they needed help starting it. Probably around the same also had an internship program, but they needed to build on it. They weren't quite sure how to expand it. And then I also know some of them couldn't fill the positions. I think at CSC, I think we had like 1,400 applicants come through and only so many spots available. So that was really neat too to see. I remember WisFis, even through the pandemic, and there were a few other banks too that were actually adding internship programs because of it. And that was really neat to see.
I did a WisFis.
Yeah, so some people maybe cut back, but other people grew. So I don't know if we're specifically talking about skills. The other thought process that comes to your question is, soft skills. People would say, hey, how can we help bridge the gap for that talent to feel comfortable in their new workspace? And soft skills came up with a lot of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to that point, we actually had an event earlier this week with Intern Delaware, Leadership Delaware, and the Chamber's Young Professionals Group, the Delaware Young Professionals Network. And it was all about soft skills development and why they're so important. It's something that you don't just gain in school or in college. It's gained from experience, and that's where an internship comes in. It allows you to develop those team working skills, problem solving, relationship building, all those really important things that honestly, that's what employers are looking for right now. There's a report by LinkedIn that came out recently that said, and I don't remember the stats because I don't have that number on this piece of paper, but it was upwards
Who planned this?
It was upwards of 80% of hires don't work out, not because they don't have the hard skills, but because they don't have the soft skills. And it's just not a match with each other. And personally, that's what I think the benefit of an internship is. It's almost like a trial for not only the employer, but also the intern to see if you're a good match for each other. You might learn something that you love, especially at your internship with Belfint, they let you try everything, and something that you don't love.
Yeah.
So just brought up a light bulb moment from both of things that you guys just said, where these soft skills, I think, and these experiences for interns are also helping the young talent build confidence, which is, you hear from, I remember all the speakers, you kind of hear them talking about self-doubt and how to get over that confidence. And I think the soft skills and working as a team helps accelerate that for the interns.
Yeah. And during my internship, one of the things they said is you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
So you're gonna make mistakes, but it's how you come back from them is basically how you succeed. I do know, I think my...
Should save that for future interviews, that moment.
Well, I'll ask you, did you fail at any point?
Oh yeah.
Did you recover?
Yeah.
Tell us what it was.
Vulnerability.
I remember failing.
If it's accounting, it was probably something to do with math.
Well, I'll just share, basically, if I just gave up on applying to jobs, because I was really feeling that doubt.
Yeah.
Especially during times where nobody was really hiring for internships. And I even have a story. I remember my friend, he was getting so down, he deleted LinkedIn. He's like, I can't take it. All these people are getting these jobs. I'm not. And so some of that was being thrown on me, and I'm like, I really need something here. I must have applied to 15 internships. Didn't get one. Heard back from Belfint. So, and I thought it was a great fit, which I got lucky.
And you didn't delete your LinkedIn?
I didn't delete my
That's
LinkedIn.
good. That's good.
What were some of the qualities in Belfint as an accounting firm that really resonated with you?
One of the biggest things that I realized was they center themselves around culture. And I really like that because when you're an accountant, I mean, you're not, the technical skills are important. And they say this all the time. Technical skills are important, but what makes another accountant stand out from another? It's those soft skills. How can you build a relationship? How can you really connect with people? And I think that's where a lot of employers, that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for someone to sit behind a desk and just type away all day. They want people that are relatable, someone that can really
make eye contact, which you're doing great right now.
But they really want someone that can engage and be able to bring in business for them. And I think, I mean, bringing in business for me, that's fun. You get, I like, as an accountant, that's why I like public accounting. You see so many people, so many different types of businesses, and there's just so much exposure.
You're not sitting behind a desk all day.
Well, I am, but
Not all day. I mean, you're not behind a desk right now.
yeah.
That's great. You know, I mean, speaking for myself, one of the reasons that the internship with the State Chamber was so much more impactful to me versus, I don't even remember how many internships I had, 5 or 6 of them probably. But there was a clear interest in growing me and investing in me, and I really recognized that. And you know, it makes me feel special. It makes me want to be a part of the team and do my best. And I feel that way now still.
So, go ahead.
I think most companies try to do that. I know for me, they really want to see that growth. They want to see you go through the works of the company, and because that gives them culture. You stuck with the program the entire time. and you're really able to show the most because you know the company the most as you progress.
They're investing in you, you're investing in them.
Yes.
One of the really cool things that came out from our talent program at CSC is that they actually had an intern help run the intern program and do updates with Intern Delaware, and I thought that was really neat because then they took ownership of it. And that's what's really cool too, is if you have a culture where the company allows you to take ownership, which it sounds like both of yours do, and I know they do at CSC, I think that that's also very important. And what we heard from the younger generations is that they want to own things and
You feel valuable.
right. Instead of just being told what to do all the time.
Absolutely. Now, we talked a little bit about what the current cohort of Intern Delaware is going through right now. We mentioned that recently they went to Legislative Hall. They got to meet elected officials, see them in action. Actually, it was the last week of session, so they were very busy down there. But some of the other experiences, and you can talk about it from a virtual perspective, what were some of the events that you attended? Any of them that really stuck out to you?
So one of the events that we did have that was virtual was our chat with the governor, with Governor Carney. And that one stuck out to me just because he was like a high figure in Delaware. So it seemed very important to attend and
And it was
really
mid-pandemic,
pay attention.
so he was busy.
Yeah. And
Even in a normal year, I don't think you can get the governor to go to an
Yeah.
internship immersion program.
yeah.
So Delaware's lucky in that respect. Do you want to kind of talk about some of the things that we're doing this year?
No.
That's fine.
I just had a baby, so I've been on maternity leave, and I actually don't know everything. I know about the business involved, but I know that I've seen like different conversations, things, but as far as the curriculum, I'm not up to date on it.
All is well. I can talk about some of it.
Thank you.
And I'll
I
even
might be able to pitch in.
Yeah, even some of the social, it doesn't have to be just curriculum. Again, like we said, we are trying to help them develop professionally during their internships, but we're also trying to, and I'll say this with quotes, sell them on the state of Delaware. So, one of the things that we're actually doing with them in a couple of weeks is we're taking them to the riverfront, to Constitution Yards, super hip beer garden, and we're going to go axe throwing. It's a very casual environment to let them get to know each other, practice their business networking skills. I know they're actually speaking with the governor again in a couple of weeks. I mentioned the soft skills webinar, but also too, we're taking them, again, this is something that you didn't get to do during COVID, but now that we're out and about a lot more, we're doing coffee and conversations in each county. So we're taking them down to Painted Stave in Smyrna, really cool venue. It's an old movie theater that's been renovated, and now it's a distillery. And it's actually Delaware's first legal distillery since Prohibition. Fun fact.
I did get to hang out with the cohort at the Blue Rocks game recently.
They went to the Blue Rocks.
We did, and that was really cool because it was really neat to, we were in a suite, which was really fun, and could watch the game, have some food, but also just talk with everybody about what they're doing, what they're excited about. It's neat.
I also want to mention point on one thing that you said. Just like these events, they aren't solely for, you don't sit around and just chat. You have a
What's wrong with that?
there's a
That's what we're doing.
like axe throwing.
Yeah.
The goal is to really connect and network.
And
But
not
it's
throw
giving.
axes at each other.
It's not directly because I've been at those
Yeah.
where you just sit down at a table and then you share yourself for about 2 minutes and then you
Move
you're
on.
done. So then you kind of run out of stuff to say. Well, if you're out, and I was actually at one of the DYPN events which was the golf outing, and my mentor. How it worked was we had a mentor, and then there was 3 of us that participated.
We'll call you young professionals
yes.
with a mentor.
And one thing that I was with Rick Detweiler and with Corteva, and he said, golfing in business is not about how well you play. It's being professional there, but that's also where business is made. It's where you're networking.
Conversations, networking, and it's huge. It's huge in Delaware too.
And that stuck out to me because anywhere you go, you can network. It doesn't have to be, oh, let me set up this meeting. And I think the more you get out and the more you do, and you are constantly thinking about business, the more success you'll have. Just because you'll be able to expand on any knowledge that you have. So axe throwing. It'll be axe throwing, and then I could bring up accounting.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone wants to hear it, but
Someone might.
They might throw an axe at you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, do you stay in touch with anyone from your Intern Delaware cohort? I know you work with one of them.
I do work with one. I did stay in touch with the one. He also went to Penn State.
Okay.
So
you had that kind of connection.
Yeah, and I would see him. I don't really stay in touch with him anymore, but out of the 4, 2 of us were hired, and the other one, I'm actually working on a project with him now for our interns who are actually in Intern Delaware.
Full circle.
Cool. Yeah.
I love that.
So we're kind of going back and doing a bit of a marketing project, and we're assisting them with it, which it's nice to be back and working with him because I did so many projects.
The nice thing about being part of like a fellowship or a cohort or a program is even if you don't see them all the time or work with them, you could probably still feel comfortable giving them a call, right? So, hey, do you know a lawyer? Oh, I do actually. Or I know somebody that, is in Delaware, used to go to this school. You know that you can always pick up a phone and call them when you need them. And that's what I think makes a fellowship so unique.
And that's building your brand.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is you mentioned that you're working with other interns at your, so you had some traction there from Intern Delaware. I know CSC, I think I just heard that we have 56% of the interns accepted jobs after Intern Delaware internships, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're finding your future workforce while figuring out if you're a match for each other.
Right.
And so it's really good to hear that so many worked out after their internship. This is a question more for Catrina, but Intern Delaware, as I mentioned, it's in its 3rd cohort. The number of interns that are going through the program has actually more than doubled since the beginning, which is really cool to see it growing. But I'm curious, can you just kind of share, is this something that's only big businesses can put their interns through, or can this be something that's also for small businesses? Are there any trends and types of industries, business sizes?
I think the really cool thing about Intern Delaware was one, the excitement about it and enthusiasm came from all types of businesses throughout the state. And that was really, really neat. It wasn't just, a lot of people sometimes will think just because you're in Wilmington, then you're only going to have a program for the large banks or the large companies. So in addition to CSC, there was Adesys, M&T, WISFIS, Buccini Poland. There was a few construction companies and some CPAs also. So we're really seeing large companies and small companies of all sizes.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about being able to engage different types of businesses with the program is, sure, you can become a corporate partner of Intern Delaware, but there's also that a la carte method for the smaller businesses where maybe they can only support 1 or 2 interns, and there's still opportunity to put them through. I know we're putting our intern, and we only have 1 this summer. She's going through the program this year. Last year we had 2 summer interns, and the fun thing, kind of how you were saying about CSC, where they have an intern for the intern program. Our interns last year helped with Intern Delaware. So cool. Helping manage even just the program itself, they got that kind of experience. And we also have another company in our building, Strategic Foresight, and he's a one-man shop, has an intern this year who's going through the program. So it's really for anyone.
And what I love about it is I think that sometimes people think, you made a point earlier about being part of a large company, and sometimes I think when you're working with a company, am I just a number, am I just a unit, do I matter? And you want to matter. I think what's really neat is along with that mindset, which I think is a little stale, but very popular, is people think that you have to be with a company for a long time before they will invest in you. But Intern Delaware, they're just brand new, and you realize that companies, especially today, trying to build the talent pipeline, are trying to bring people on earlier and building that culture and looking for people that are good culture fit, and will help them develop professionally. And I know this is not exact there, but I know CSC will do zip code Wilmington with some employees if they show interest. And I think it's really neat to see companies that will grow their employees with the industry and what they're looking for.
Yeah. And I really support getting hired out of an internship rather than being brought on, because when people are brought on, they might have a lost sense of culture or attachment to that specific firm, which can be kind of challenging to kind of rope them back in. And I think from an internship standpoint, if they're in and they can grow through the company, you can really do great things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kelly.
Yeah, intern to vice president. But I agree with that a lot, because it can be really intimidating. Your first job out of school, or your first, full-time career job can be really intimidating, especially on that first day. But if you've already interned there, there's already a couple familiar faces that just make it so much easier. Brody, you mentioned the DYPN golf outing. So now that you're graduate of Intern Delaware, you're hired full-time by Belfint Lyons Shuman, you're now on the Chamber's Young Professionals group. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I joined at the beginning of the year, and I thought it was a great opportunity to get more involved, be more connected within Delaware. And so far, it's been great. We basically just plan events for young professionals, and we get to see people grow, which I love. And I also get to see myself grow. And serving on the committee, I made friends, which are also in future part of my network. And that's really what I plan to do, and eventually keep going and just grow from there.
That's great. I was very active with the DYPN until I passed over the reins to Helena. And it's really, really awesome to see kind of the next generation coming and kind of carrying that all forward. So I have one more question for you both. Parting thoughts here. If you had one or two pieces of advice for a business to help develop their interns or grow an internship program, what would it be?
I think that, don't be a perfectionist about it. I think just get started in Intern Delaware, and the Chamber's here to help people do that. But also work with other companies to say, how did you do this and how can we work together and collaborate? I think that's the biggest thing that Delaware has to offer to its communities and its people and its businesses. And I think for internships, it's the same way. So work together and don't be afraid to get started.
Yeah. I also, I agree. And I also think another thing that businesses can really do is make the interns feel valuable and really show as much as you can and exposure, because I thought Belfint did a great job of doing that, and it made me like the job. So when I got that offer, it was easy to say yes. So if you're, as a business, you should be trying to give as much as exposure as possible, and really make the interns feel like everybody wants them there.
That's great. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining me. If people want to get in touch with you afterwards, how can they contact you?
Sure. I am everywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, if you still tweet. And my email is Catrina with a C, Atrina.Jefferson@cscglobal.com.
And I am also on all social media accounts. Follow my LinkedIn. And you can also reach me at bhudson@belfint.com.
Awesome. There will be many more of these conversations in the coming weeks. We'll be exploring many more topics with lots of other members. If you want to find them, they'll be on our website, on the Chamber's YouTube. You can tweet us at DE State Chamber or LinkedIn. You can find us there as well. And we look forward to seeing you next time.